Hey everybody, it's Doc, and I wanted to let you guys know that I've come to a conclusion on the New Gods. I did read issue 4. I picked it up after the fact, and I'm going to drop it. I'm going to drop it because even though issue 4 was not as exposition heavy as issue 3, it's moving the narrative in a way that I don't care for. It's not a bad narrative, but it's just not for me. The story of New Genesis and Highfather and Himon and all of the other new gods, they're a lofty ideal. And Jack Kirby had a really, really great idea when he built this world. But one thing that did happen in this book that I didn't care for was issue 3, and that was a very, very exposition-heavy story about the history of not only the new gods, but the Source Wall. It delved deeper into DC lore, which is fine. I like history. But the first 2 books were really not really lighthearted, I would say, but they were focused. They were focused on Orion killing this kid, Scott Free hiding the kid, and then the hunt that would ensue when Scott was inevitably not able to finish what he started, complete the mission that Orion asked him to. It got back to that in this issue, in issue number 4, but there were still history lessons and, to me, unessential information that was given and shared. I don't mind reading multiple subplots. I like reading books that make my head hurt sometimes, but not in this way. Not in this way, because I've heard stories that Ram V can start off very, very strong, and then all of a sudden he just goes off into left field on something. And that's kind of how this book feels to me. It's not bad. The art's not bad, but it doesn't speak to me in the same way that Aquaman speaks to me or that Green Lantern speaks to me. It speaks to me in the same way that Absolute Green Lantern spoke to me. And to me, that was just not fun. It took the characters that you know and it switched them up, but it switched them up in the same way that I don't like Absolute Batman. And I get it. Absolute Batman is one of those books where you just have to turn your brain off and say, hey, I'm just going to have some fun. This is a Michael Bay popcorn flick. I'm not going to dig too deep into this, but I couldn't, and maybe it's a weakness of mine as a reader. I couldn't wrap my head around the idea of Absolute Batman because it was more like absurd Batman. Everything that happened was just so out there and so strange and so new and so different, but it wasn't new and different in the right ways. Just like this New Gods book is not new and different in the right ways. Those first 2 issues were pitch perfect. I love this series. But the 3rd issue really threw me off, even though I liked the artwork that you got that was talking about. It was very reminiscent of Jose Ladron or J.H. Williams III in certain ways. But in other ways, it was just unnecessary. And so they lost me there. I chose to give it 1 more issue, and unfortunately, Ram V has dropped the baton. I'm just not interested in whether or not Orion can kill this kid. If it had been me and I had gone that direction, you keep moving forward. You don't stop the momentum by all of a sudden jumping off into the history of the New Gods. There will be time for that. But if you open a book with, okay, well, you're going to have the baby or I'm going to kill the baby, and then you go off on the great chase with Scott Free saying, what am I going to do? Orion always does what Highfather tells him to do. And Big Barda, his wife, Scott's wife, says, you always know what to do as well, Scott. It may not be exactly for Highfather, but it's for you and you know what to do. So she backed him up. And in this issue, Orion does find the child and finds Scott free because, like I said, Orion knew that Scott wasn't going to be able to complete what he was asking in time, and that time on New Genesis and in the fourth world moves differently than time does in the DCU main universe. So he ran out of time, which is odd for an escape artist to run out of time. But just what do you guys think? Do you think that it's a great book? Do you think that it is too exposition heavy? And, you know, you got one story and you signed up for one story, and then all of a sudden in issue 3 it just hit a roadblock? Or am I by myself? Let me know in the comments what you guys thought. Do you think I dropped it too soon? Do you think I ought to give it a 5th issue? Or what are your thoughts on this book? Thanks, guys. Have a great evening, and we'll catch you later.